Hi, I'm Lippy.
And I'm Grumpy. Together we're Lippy and Grumpy do podcasting.
In this episode, more museums, jumping on a train, lost tents, finding cheese, and Mini Mokes.
Now, Lippy.
Hello.
You played Duck Boy, the part of last week's episode where you realised that vacuum cleaners suck.
I did, yes.
What was his response?
He was laughing for about 10 minutes, to be honest. His favourite bit was the, oh my God.
I think it was the point of realisation that was the funniest.
Yeah, definitely. I played it a few times and had a good giggle myself. I still am in shock that I did it, but it's fine. It's fine.
Excellent. A friend of mine is in the States at the moment, and he sent me a message this morning. It said, drove past this yesterday and thought I'd let you know after seeing you like a museum. And it's the Idaho Potato Museum.
I would actually quite like to go to that museum.
Well, I replied saying, did you go in? And he said, no. But
I don't like museums.
It looks brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And then they do talk about the famous Idaho potato. And I'm not sure it's that famous outside of
No, I've never heard
America. Of it. Interestingly, their gift shop, the Spud Cellar gift shop, has almost every potato-themed gift item imaginable. However, they don't seem to sell potatoes, which I was a bit surprised at. But you can buy one in the cafe to eat.
Can you buy a potato-shaped item?
There's plenty of that sort of typical museum tat, as I would say. Yeah. But not. You think you go to the Idaho Potato Museum and you'd be able to walk away.
Potatoes.
Yeah, walk away with a bag of spuds, but that's not the case. But never mind. Never mind. It does look like a good place to visit if you are in the vicinity.
Yes.
However, I won't be making a special trip.
No, it's a bit of a trek just to go and see the Potato Museum.
It is just a bit. So, sad news during the week was the sudden passing of Ray Liotta, who's age 67, who passed away in his sleep. So, very unexpected. And one of my favourite actors. He always scared me a bit. And some great films. Wild Hogs is one of my favourite films, and he was brilliantly scary in that. And yet he did lots of voiceovers, including a character in SpongeBob SquarePants.
No, did he?
He did, yes. He voiced Bubble Poppin' Boy's leader. He was in a couple of Muppet movies and did lots of voiceovers. And what I liked about Ray Liotta was he didn't do his dirty laundry in public, unlike certain other individuals that we can mention over the last few weeks, and not just actors and actresses. So you sent me a message late last week saying you had a mind blow to tell me.
I did.
And you were going to wait for my reaction.
Yes, because Duckboy, give him credit where it's due, told me about it, and I was sat there for a good 10 minutes trying to figure it out because I feel like I know why, but at the same time I don't fully understand why, you know? We will know. Okay. If you jump while you're inside of a train, you land on the same spot, but if you jump while you're on top of the train, you land in a different spot.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It has to do with wind resistance.
That is where I thought was the difference.
Yeah, it has to be.
But still, it doesn't... I just pictured myself jumping up and down inside a train for about 10 minutes.
Did you try that on the way to Reading?
I should have.
Way to London, rather.
I really should have, actually. Next week, I'll give it a go while I'm in the tube. Everyone will think I'm an absolute nutter.
It would be interesting to know whether actually you did land on exactly the same spot. So the problem is the distances involved are quite small. So if you jump, you're no longer being carried by the train.
But why are you being carried just because you're inside the train?
The difference is wind resistance. If you stick your hand out of a car window doing 50 miles an hour, you feel the wind resistance. It blows your hand back.
Yes, yeah.
And that's exactly the same with the train. Unless it's moving very slowly, there's going to be a lot of wind resistance to you moving.
Yes.
So as soon as you jump up,
it'll push you back.
But I wonder if you jump in the train, and it's very difficult to have a controlled experiment for that, because obviously the angle that you jump at and all sorts of things. But I suspect you would move slightly back. Be a very small amount. It'd be an interesting experiment to do. But it does make you stop and think.
It does make you really think. And you're like, oh, actually, why is that? So there's your mind blow for you.
Wow. There is something else about trains.
Yes.
And light and time, which I think is in A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking, which came out in the late 80s. And I have attempted to read it and didn't get very far. But there was something about looking at a clock in a train and it moves at a different time. It's some pretty freaky stuff which would never actually be relevant.
Is that why the trains are always late?
No, that's just incompetence. Or lack of staff.
Or electrical works, which was my main issue today.
Yes, well, that will fall into one of those first categories, I suspect. That's a great fun fact, though, actually.
I do have another good fun fact for this week, so...
Oh, you're doing a fun fact instead of a top tip?
Oh, no. I have a top tip. I got confused about what I did.
Now, I think you've had a wild goose chase today, if your message on the family WhatsApp group was anything to go by.
What a dramatic afternoon I've had. So I was in London today, and the company I work for are exhibiting one in America and then one here. America's next week, and then the week after, or 2 weeks after, is the one in London. Or no, it's up north, sorry, it's not in London. And we have a storage locker where they keep stuff for exhibits because they barely use them. We don't have that much space in the offices we rent. I was also informed that lots of extra bits had been chucked into the storage unit after they moved offices. Yes. So I thought, perfect, you're going, I'll come with you. I'll do a stock take of everything. Maybe grab some stuff depending on what's there. Nice day out, nice trip. So I messaged my manager and I said, oh, do you have the info for the storage unit? I'm going to go tomorrow, because this was yesterday, with the marketing guy, just do a stock take of everything we've got. She sends through a folder called storage, literally labelled storage. Click into it. All the info's in there, all about one storage place, which is in Battersea, which is about an 18-minute taxi drive. It was about half an hour on a train, so I was like, I'm going to get a taxi there. And then it was 20 minutes back. Got all the access codes. Perfect. Got in the taxi. Started raining. Started hailing. Had a thunder and lightning whilst we're in the taxi. And I was like, it better stop by the time we get back. Or get there. Anyway, stopped, which was great. Got out. Walked up to the door. Couldn't work out how to get in. Some lady was going in, so we just snuck in behind her. Then we're looking up at the wall and it was rotating with all of the office, like the companies and where their places were.
Yes. Yeah.
Couldn't see our name. Then we were like, are we sure we're in the right building? Because it's quite a big site it was on. And I'd messaged my manager and she said, oh, just go and ask at reception. They'll tell you where it is. And I was like, there's no reception here. Like, we just walked into a door and then it just has the list of names. And then so we were like, oh, okay. So the guy I was with, I stayed inside because we didn't know the key to get in. So we thought, I'll stay inside. He'll go have a look and then come and get me, or I'll let him back in. So he found the right place. So we go out, go in, go to the reception, hand them the signed piece of paper that I needed to say that we were going to be taking stuff out of said unit. And they look at us very blankly and say, we don't know who you are. We don't have a storage unit in your name.
Oh, no.
They're like, well, how do you know it was here? And I was like, it was on the contract, on all the forms I have. Look, it's on this signed document that I have from CFO to say that I can take stuff out of the storage unit if I need to. And they were like, how weird. So they're searching and searching and searching. Then they finally decided to search in the old client list. Up we pop. Yes. So we pop up in the old client list. I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah, so you guys moved out in October 2020. And I'm like, yeah, sorry. What do you mean we moved out in October 2020? And we had a few questions about like, oh, we definitely moved out and it didn't just stop getting paid and then blah, blah, blah. And he was like, no, because we'll have records of us chasing you and trying to get the money and then selling the stuff, etc. Which they didn't. It literally just said we'd moved out. I was like, oh, okay. And they were like, is there anyone else that knows about the storagey part? And I was like, yeah, one of the other finance girls knows, so we'll give her a call. Gave her a call. Oh yeah, we moved to Vanguard ages ago.
Oh, good grief.
I was like, why? One, is this not in the folder that says storage?
Indeed.
So I messaged my manager and she was like, I am so sorry. All I had is what was in that folder. I had absolutely no idea you were going to the wrong one, like that there were even an option of 2. She felt awful. So we get in the taxi, get back, go to Vanguard, which was a 15-minute walk from the office, not a 20-minute taxi. Get in there, get to the storage locker. All the codes work. Everything was really easy that time. Perfect. Opened it up. There is nothing in there that I need.
Oh, no.
They'd cleared it all out and split it between the 2 offices. So it was only marketing stuff. So at least I did help carry some of the marketing stuff back, but I didn't even need to go.
That was...
He could have literally just told me.
Well, goose chase.
It was. It was hilarious, though. We had a good laugh in the taxi, and the thunder and lightning was mad. And I got to see those new apartments that they built in Battersea, in the power station.
Oh, really?
Because, you know, they turned the power station into apartments.
Yes, yeah.
We literally drove right past the power station, and oh my God, they look incredible. So then I got back to work after being out for 2 hours, you know, just started searching other stuff on my computer, and looking at some of the insides of them, and one of them was 8 million.
Yeah, they're going to be that sort of price, aren't they?
They were amazing, though.
Yeah.
They looked really cool.
Yeah, you're not going to get any low-cost housing there.
No. One of them, where the bath was placed, had views all down the river.
Very nice. Was that what the £8 million one?
It was, yes.
Oh, well, what a day.
What a day.
What a
Seen
day.
lots of London today.
Yes, we get a taxi ride, which is always quite nice.
Yeah, I do like a taxi ride, actually. But it did cost me £24, which I will be claiming back.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, wife and Grumpy and I went to the New Forest at the weekend.
You did.
3-day camping trip in weather considerably better than today's.
Yes, you did all right for weather, actually.
It was very good. It was glorious on Friday.
You're looking quite tanned, actually.
Well, that's because there was a lot of sunshine. And the light's quite orange at the moment because it's evening. So
Yes.
to look a little bit more Donald Trump than usual.
Yeah.
Anyway, so on the Friday, we cooked at the campsite because the weather was good. And I just happened to look to see if there was a space station pass, because I love a space station pass.
Yeah.
And if Wife of Grumpy hasn't seen one for a while, she loves a space station pass as well. So anyway, would you believe there was an ultra bright, incredibly bright one, that's the phrase they use, at 3 minutes past 10 in the evening.
Okay, so it would have been dark enough.
Just dark enough. So we're stood away. No, nobody else is interested. We've gone with 2 other couples, and they're not really interested in this, and they're mocking me mercilessly for paying any sort of interest in it whatsoever. So anyway, so we're stood away from the vans and the campfire, and it just starts to come over, and it is incredibly bright. And this bloke wearing a motorcycle helmet comes striding up to us as if he had a real
problem
bone to pick. Yeah, really quite, not aggressive, but what's the word? Sort of
dominance.
With purpose.
Yes,
definitely.
with purpose.
And he comes up and he says, "Have you seen my tent?" And I begin to think, "Oh, hello, practical joke."
Yeah.
No. He went, "Oh, I've lost it." I said, "What do you mean you've lost it?" He said, I pitched the tent at 8:30 this morning and there was nobody here, and I've come back tonight and it's full and I can't find it. It's a small blue one-man tent." I said, "Well, there wasn't any tents along this bit when we got here at about 1:30. I went, "Oh, well, where do you think my tent is?" "Well, quite frankly, I don't know, but there is another field over there." And he said, "Well, it was next to a hedge." Well, there's quite a few hedges around
Next to a hedge in the New Forest.
Yeah, in the New Forest. And it's a big campsite. I mean, it's a good 10 acres, I would say, at least. No, it must be more than that. Must be much more than that. The field we're in was more than 10 acres. And there's another field which is about 3 times the size. He says, "Well, but how do I get into it?" So he's on a right old panic at this point. And I said, "Well, if you see the hedge going that way, it's at the end where you can see those the static caravans, there's a gateway there. You can get in there. And he went, oh, okay. Oh, I've forgotten where my bike is. So he'd not only lost his tent, he'd now forgotten where he'd left his bike. And I don't know whether it was the panic or whether he just was suffering with something where you forget things very quickly. He was a young lad. So anyway, he disappeared off, or we didn't see him again. And I sort of felt a little bit guilty, but I thought, well, you can't really walk around a massive campsite at night with a torch looking for a blue one-man tent.
You'll never find your own camper van if you do that.
No. Well, I would have done, interestingly, because one of our party, and you can guess who this was late arriving. So we'd set up, and I sent them the what 3 words location.
Ah, so you would have found it.
So I would have found it again. I would have found my chair precisely.
Well, that's a good hack, actually, isn't it, for camping?
It is a good hack.
Check where you've put your tent using your what 3 words.
If you're likely to forget where your tent is, which is very easily done in the dark and in a massive campsite.
And they all look quite similar, tents.
They do, and we've been to Holland's Wood just outside of Brockenhurst before, gone to the pub for lunch, came back, it's absolutely pitch dark, and have not been able to find the van, to the point where I was wandering around pressing the remote control to unlock the doors so
so it would flash.
So it would flash. That was quite embarrassing. And as you can imagine, Wife of Grumpy knew exactly where it was until it wasn't there, and she's virtually on the main road by this point. So
yes.
So it is easily done. It
is.
But there is technology around to help you stop that.
Yeah.
And the Horse Whisperer had an unusual night out on Thursday night.
She did. I rang her to ask her a question. She was like, I can't talk. I was like, oh, are you at the horses? No, I'm at the pub. I was like, excuse me?
So apparently she'd gone to the pub and she'd had a couple of soft drinks. Was just going to the loo and was about to go. And her friend for the stables phoned her, but the Horse Whisperer had left her phone at the table, not taking it to the loo with her. So her colleagues answered the phone, explained the situation, and said, and the Horse Whisperer's friend said, oh, don't worry, I'll sort the horses out. So she didn't have to go and do that. So she got back to the table and, we'll have a couple of drinks then. So one thing led to another, and there was a number of people there quite inebriated, let's put it that way. So one of them who hadn't been drinking offered to drive the Horse Whisperer, the Horse Whisperer's boss, and the Horse Whisperer's boss's fiancée, who also works at the same firm, to their house, and Horse Whisperer would stay overnight. So they did that, got there. Nobody set an alarm. So the Horse Whisperer wakes up at about, I think, 7:45.
Okay, that's
some
not too
distance. So, no, yeah, 7:45. Bearing in mind they're supposed to start at 8:30. Gets up, goes to the loo, bangs on the door, and shouts, "It's 7:45, and none of us have got a car."
Oh my god!
So
because they had all driven.
They're all at work. They walked to the pub, which is just down the road, and got a lift back home. Not giving a second thought about how on earth they were going to get to work the next day.
Oh, gosh.
There is the advantage of staying at the boss's house, though.
Oh, yeah, because he's with you, so there's no drama.
Absolutely.
Oh, she hadn't told me about that. That's hilarious.
So funny. So funny.
What a wally.
Yes. Well, she doesn't go out much, so it was...
No, nice event.
Yeah, nice event.
The bit that I was informed of was that someone may have gone home sick as well early in the day.
Oh, really?
That had been out on said night.
Oh, what, the following day?
Yes, from work. Yes.
Well, we'd gone by then, so it was a bit glossed over that.
Oh, no, sorry, not the Horse Whisperer, one of her colleagues.
Oh, okay. Yes, that wouldn't surprise me. So last week we talked about the Museum of Failure.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the items in there was the Nokia N-Gage phone, which looked a bit like a gaming console.
Yeah.
Interestingly and coincidentally, I came across an article on the 10 of the most incomprehensibly strange mobile phone designs ever. And not only is a Nokia N-Gage there, but Nokia have got 5 models in the top 10 of weird phones, basically.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And they really are quite weird. I mean, there's some absolute corkers here. And one of them is one from Japan. And it's a box, well, it's a phone made into the shape of a box of 20 Marlboros.
What?
You can actually, you can actually have 7 cigarettes in the mobile phone case, which has a flip top, a bit like an old-fashioned cigarette box. And then the displays on the front. Very, very weird. Oh, no, it's Chinese, not Japanese. And it was only made in, or only available in China unless you imported it. But quite why you'd want to, I don't know.
I have no idea why you would want that.
No, I don't. The only thing I can imagine is if you left it on the pub table, for example, the other way up, people would think it was a packet of cigarettes and not a phone.
Probably more likely to pinch them.
Well, possibly, yeah. So I'm not sure that works, but that's the only thing I've come up with. There's also a Nokia that looks a little bit like a spy camera from James Bond. But they thought it looked like a lipstick instead.
Oh, that's not as fun.
Now, this is something I didn't think I'd ever see. Italian cheesemakers have been fitting trackers to Parmesan cheese wheels.
How weird.
Very, very weird. And in the EU, the names, and I'm going to get this wrong, Parmigiano Reggiano. No, I'm not even going to say it. So the fancy name for Parmesan cheese and Parmesan are strictly controlled. A little bit like
Parmigiano.
Pies. Very good. And a second word?
Oh, I don't know that one.
Reggiano. Yeah.
Parmi. Oh, it's hard to say them together.
It is, isn't it?
I'll stop butchering that.
Beautiful words if pronounced by an Italian, I should imagine.
Yes.
But, not by us. Anyway, the problem is there's lots of people selling fake Parmesan cheese.
Yes.
And whilst the Italians and the EU care about it, quite understandably, the rest of the world doesn't. So the cheesemakers are fighting back by embedding tracking devices into the rind of the cheese. And I guess it's a little, when they say tracking, it's a little bit like the chips you put in cats and dogs.
Yes.
So they're inert in that you don't have a battery, but you'd have a magic wand that goes over the cat or dog.
And gets scanned, yeah.
Lives, yeah. And I guess it's the same with the cheese, that they could scan it with a scanny thing, and it tells you whether it's a fake cheese or not. And they've embedded some blockchain technology into it, which makes it harder to fake. And they're tagging 120,000 cheese wheels initially.
Interesting.
And then if it works, they'll produce more. But it's an interesting development. And I guess the more counterfeiting that goes on, the more this sort of technology will... I mean, there's always some people that will be quite happily have a counterfeit item, but there's some people that buy them thinking they're genuine.
Yeah, definitely.
And they'll be able to stop that. So that was a very unusual use of technology, I thought.
Yeah, that is.
Now, talking about pets, a man who spent bizarrely £80 at the vet, which seems quite cheap for a vet.
That does seem,
to be honest, thought his 9-month-old kitten was ill, was because the cat was sick of having him around.
What?
Well, you know what cats are like.
Yeah.
They have staff and they do what they want to do. And the cat took umbrage at their owner or staff being at home during the day when he was working at home.
So acted out.
Yeah, I would imagine with the last couple of years with lots of people working from home, and some continue to do so, that pets that have had a sort of a quiet day have suddenly had that completely disrupted by people being, everybody being at home. I mean, you think the first lockdown, everybody was at home all of the time. And I know our cat was a bit miffed at times with that.
Yeah, when she couldn't just do her thing.
Well, that and, when she came and demanded food by meowing loudly, didn't always get it, which you can't really do that while you're in a meeting. But,
yeah. Excuse me, I just need to go and feed my cat.
Well, yes, indeed. Indeed. So if your cat's a bit miffed, it might be because you're working at home.
Yeah. One of the first signs is peeing in weird places.
Yes, but that's also a sign of urine tract infection.
Oh, yeah, so don't just ignore that.
So don't ignore it. So he did the right thing by taking the cat to the vet because that's quite nasty. And just gets worse. So
yes,
the advice is not to take your cat to the vet, but just beware, it might be bad news.
Yeah.
The cat doesn't like you. Now, I didn't watch the Monaco Grand Prix because we were still in the New Forest. I gather there was a bit of controversy over delaying it because of a bit of rain.
I mean, it was a lot of rain, but they still had time to start the race before the rain had come, and then they could have red flagged it.
Yeah, I don't know which is better, really. That's a tricky call to make.
Yeah, it was a safety thing, so it makes sense, and it just was very delayed.
Yeah, I guess so. Just maybe it's... I don't know. Not having seen it, I can't really pass comment, but I think you can be overcautious. That's not the point of this. This article was in the Daily Mail, so it's suffering from what I've termed mixama statistics. Formula One teams warn that FIA budget caps will result in hundreds of job losses, as current spending limit of 110 million is not enough to counteract rising inflation, and some could lose up to 85% of their staff. It then goes on to say Formula One teams have asked, so it'll only be some of them, for the FIA to increase their budget caps. Mercedes, one of 7 teams based in the UK, currently employ 110,000 staff. I'm guessing that's not the one that's going to lose 85%, because that's not going to function if you lose 85% of your staff. And some of the other teams, Alfa Romeo, Alpine, Williams and Haas, have all previously opposed a budget rise. And I understand where they're coming from with this, because obviously it's going to reduce the performance of your team if you can't buy the best staff. But I think this is what is wrong with Formula One, is that the gap between the top teams and the bottom teams is too big.
Yeah.
And we were discussing this over the weekend, strangely, and the one-make championships, where the cars are closer in performance, are much better as a spectator race.
Yes, definitely. More racing, less tactics.
Well, there's more driver talent shines out a lot more. And we've seen some stuff at Brands before, and it's been brilliantly good fun to watch. And I think there was a youngsters Ginetta race, so that'll be 16-year-olds, I guess. And the lead must have changed 4 or 5 times on the last lap. It was just stunningly good racing. And the same with touring cars, although they have the weight penalty, which we've discussed before. But I think if a Formula One to stop being a technology race, you've got to lower the amount of money that's being spent. Now, talking of cars, don't yawn. Don't yawn. Last year we spoke about the Mini Moke, which is a car I've always quite liked.
Yes,
we did. But is now very expensive. The original ones. There's lots of kit car versions. But Mini Moke as a company has resurrected itself, and it's set up production line in the UK, which we covered last year. And the first electric Mini Mokes are rolling off the production line imminently.
So you could get yourself one.
I could. There's one snag.
They're electric.
No, £35,000.
Ooh!
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Quite a lot of money. It would be brilliant, and it would be brilliant on the 10 days a year that you can use a car without a roof. It would be a glorious thing to tow behind the camper van and have available.
Yeah, it would.
Again, not when it's raining.
No.
I'm not quite sure how we charge it, but that aside, it would be a lot of fun.
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. And you could buy a lot of kit cars for that.
You could pay for my wedding.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Oh.
Talking of which, I saw some pictures of men's jackets and shoes over the weekend.
Shoes? You saw shoes as well? My shoes. Girly shoes. Yes.
Girly shoes, not duck boy shoes.
No, we've done another little job. We are currently, hang on, I can tell you, 10 months and 21 days away from the wedding.
Very good.
And at the weekend, we went suit shopping for Duck Boy and went completely in the opposite direction to what he had been thinking. he had seen quite a few suits that he liked. We did have a kerfuffle to start with.
Oh dear.
We went to an appointment at a shop that an appointment had not been booked at. But it all worked out well.
Oh, was it wrong shop or?
Wrong shop. That's where he thought he was booking the appointment, but he wasn't. He was booking it for a custom tailor, which actually worked out in our favour.
Okay.
So we went to this shop which had some super jazzy shirts.
Oh yes, I saw those.
Yeah, really, they are really cool. A lot of them were in the sale as well. So. Anyway, so we went there and we saw the suit that he had seen online that he really liked. And we were like, okay, we'll book an appointment and come back. It had explained what we had done because we had realised when we got there and there was another appointment there. So then went off to the tailor, thought we'd go anyway, even though he does make the suits. It's not, you can't just buy a pre-made suit. He makes custom-made suits. Duckboy had seen a lot of suits that he liked, but he was like, yeah, that's a nice suit. Like, that was kind of his response rather than being like super excited. And then in the corner of his eye, tell it like a proper story, he spotted a navy blue velvet with black trim tuxedo.
Superb.
And said, would you be okay if I had a tux? And I was like, of course you can have a tux. And then, so the guy was like, oh, let me show you the other colours you can have it in. You can have it in a dark green, which is exactly what he had wanted. He had wanted a green suit, but was a bit worried about looking like the Joker or, not the Joker, the Riddler, or like a leprechaun was the other thing.
Riddler had a whole load of question marks on his jacket.
True.
It was slightly different.
So it's a very subtle green, very dark, and you can probably only tell from a distance. So he's gone for a dark green with black trim, and he'll have black trousers, and the wedding party will have green bow ties.
Just green bow ties?
With a tux underneath. Okay. The full suit in black, but with a green tux. Okay. A green tie, bow tie.
So the non-groom jackets, are they black velvet or they
are just
black?
Black.
Okay.
Yes, because otherwise we would have had to have them made, and that's expensive.
Okay.
Whereas we can hire the tux outfit, and then we can buy green velvet bow ties.
Yes, that would be nice. That would be very nice.
Yeah. So everyone should look very smart. So he's super excited about it, which is really nice because he was kind of just like, oh yeah, I like it. And now he's actually excited.
Fairly typical men's shopping, clothes shopping anyway.
Mm. Yeah. So then we decided that I was going to have green shoes. So I've got a lovely pair of silk green shoes with a little bow on the back.
Very nice.
And they were 20 quid rather than 60 quid of the shoes I was looking at.
That's very good. Are they going to be comfortable enough to wear all day?
Well, I'm going to buy them, and I'm not planning on wearing them all day.
Okay.
So I'm going to get them, and then I'm going to wear them around the house a bit, check them out, make sure they're comfy. And then I've got some sparkly trainers, which I already owned from when I was a bridesmaid, and I was very tall and the bride was very short.
Yes.
And I'm going to have those to change into for the evening.
Perfect. Good solution. So, it's top tip time.
Top tip. This is a top tip for myself, but I thought I would share it because I do this, and I saw someone post it the other day and I was like, that is actually a really good tip for if you have this problem. So one of my problems, I won't go through the whole list, is that I eat very fast.
Yes.
I eat with a lot of speed behind me.
You do.
And the top tip is that when you're chewing your food, you're not allowed to either be going for another bite or be holding the food in your hand. So depending on what you're eating, if it's like a wrap, you need to put the food down. And if you've got a knife and fork, not be making up the next fork while you're chewing. So while you're chewing, that's all you're doing. You're chewing. And then once you've swallowed, you then make the next fork up or pick the food up to then take the bite. And that naturally will really slow you down. So even if you're still chewing as fast, you're not eating as quickly.
That is a very, very good tip. And I think what you'll find is that by putting a knife and fork down, you're focusing more on the chewing and you will chew more.
Yes.
And it's one of the tips. I think it's Paul McKenna does for weight loss. because he has a sort of alternative diet. And that is part of it, is that when you're eating, that's all you're doing. You're eating, you're not watching the telly, you're not listening, which is very hard to do. And you put your knife and fork down and you concentrate on chewing.
Yes.
It's a little bit like mindfulness and concentrating on your breathing. Similar sort of thing. So that is a very, very good top tip.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yes, that's unusually good for a
Yes, I know. Actually helpful.
Yeah, normal service will be resumed next week. So my fun fact is about Los Angeles. And it is the first major city in the world to synchronise all of its traffic lights. So there's nearly 4,400 lights across 469 miles, and they receive real-time updates about traffic flow to make second-by-second adjustments. So syncing all of Los Angeles traffic signals reduces nearly 1 metric tonne of pollution annually.
Wow.
And saves 1 day of waiting in traffic per driver per year.
Impressive.
Very impressive. Also, it has to be said, destined to go wrong spectacularly.
Yeah. Because if it's like 1 millisecond off, could make a whole traffic jam.
Well, if you think the premise of the original Italian job was to break into the Turing computer and put a dodgy tape on there that then caused chaos, what could happen if somebody hacked into... which, according to Hollywood, is very easy. You just type in a random word and you'll get in.
Yeah.
Fine. Any system, just type in a random word, you'll get in. That's very interesting, and it's often... I've wondered here whether we really have any sort of tidal flow. I know they have it for the...
or any intelligence with the traffic lights. Yeah.
And there must be some, but I've yet to see it. Well done, Los Angeles.
Well done.
That's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
You can help spread Lippy and Grumpy's view on life by leaving a review on your favourite podcast platform.
If you're not sure how to leave a review, or if you download from Spotify, there's some help at lippyandgrumpy.uk/review.
And if you would like to get in touch, email podcast@lippyandgrumpy.uk.
So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Bye.